Auston Matthews keeps chugging along, but the Buds get sloppy in a loss to the Devils. This is the Locked On At Least podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On At Least podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Terms and conditions apply. Leafs fall 6-5 to the New Jersey Devils. A bit of a wild and wacky game. With the loss, Dave, they lose out on their chance to control their own destiny for home ice in round one. I think with them losing in regulation and the Florida Panthers winning in regulation, that probably cements the Atlantic Division as Boston 1, Florida 2, Leafs probably ending up now with that 3-hole starting on the road, having to go down to Sunrise. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game, though, Dave, I think we got to just discuss kind of how lucky we are to watch Auston Matthews. Like, I know the Leafs lost tonight, but I still think the story that we need to touch on first is what that guy is doing, like, from an individual basis. Goals number 67 and 68 tonight. Just absolutely incredible. Thought he was going to score more. Thought he was going to score more tonight just based on how quickly he got 67 and 68. It almost felt like a hat trick was coming, or maybe even a 4-goal night. Wouldn't that have been something? But you look at the goals that he scored, both of which even strength goals. He's the first player since 1993, Dave, to have 50-plus even strength goals in a season. Goal number 67 surpassed Dave Keon for third all-time on the Maple Leafs goal-scoring list, and the goal number 68 was also a historic moment in Maple Leafs franchise history, as that goal surpassed Matt Sundin on the all-time list for even-strength goals with 244 of them in 422 less games. How outrageous are those statistics, Dave?
I mean, it is outrageous because, like, Matt Sundin made a lot of those records near the tail end of his career. Auston Matthews is, like, in the prime, in the middle of his career, and we're going to see him smash a lot of the records. Now, maybe points will take a little more time, but goals records, he's going to smash that very easily. Like many are saying, next year, for sure, we're going to see Auston Matthews overtake Sundin. I remember vividly when Matt Sundin set the goals record too. I remember when he set the points record. Like, and we're talking about, putting him in that, Mount Rushmore of greatest Leafs of all time, which he will still be for a really long time. Auston Matthews putting himself right there.
Oh, like, is he ever?
It's incredible to see what he does. Knowing the pressure that's on him right now to get to 70, knowing that he doesn't have a lot of time left. And yeah, I was messaging with friends, like when he scored the first goal, I'm like, wouldn't put it past him trying to get it done tonight. Scores the second one. I said, it's getting a little more interesting. And obviously he didn't get another one, but
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I believe maybe it was a week or two ago, I mentioned my Aunt Maria is a loyal listener. She's an everydayer here listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast. She texted me yesterday. I said, I believe he's going to score twice. That was one of my bold predictions. And I said, I'm laying that change down on FanDuel. I did. And I cashed it. It was, I think, plus 470 or something like that to score 2 goals, in that game. And he did do just that. Now just needs 2 more to get to 70, and he's got 3 more games to get it done. But I think everyone's going to want to do it on home ice Saturday night against Detroit, the final home game of the season. I think it's going to be an all-out kind of night. That guy's going to have at least 13, 14 shots on goal in that game. I would imagine taking the over and Matthews shots would also be a solid prop to take.
You made a guarantee. You talk about guarantees. I'm going to make a guarantee because history. Let's go back a little bit. Do you remember which team Auston Matthews scored 60 goals against?
I'm guessing Detroit.
It was against the Detroit Red Wings. It was also a game at home.
Mm-hmm.
The stars, as they say, are aligning.
Yeah.
And I say he does it Saturday night. Did you watch? I know the Leaf game was happening at the same time. Were you keeping an eye on that Red Wings Penguins game?
The score, I was definitely keeping an eye on the score. And that game Saturday night is going to have massive implications for the Red Wings because they left a point on the table against Pittsburgh, a team that they're now trailing. They need points bad. So you're going to get your all from the Detroit Red Wings, but that might be a team that's running out of steam a little bit. And hopefully Toronto can bounce back after a bit of a porous game tonight against the Devils and get themselves kind of back to where they need to be with a week until the playoffs now, basically. Like, playoffs are going to start a week Saturday. So legitimately, they're going to drop the puck on Saturday. If you fast forward a week after that Detroit game, they'll be dropping the puck for game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So not a lot of time to get your game back in order after a bit of a sloppy one that we witnessed here tonight against the Devils. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of tonight's game. We'll go through the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we'll continue to look forward to the weekend and beyond as we're into the final stretch run of the NHL regular season. So we'll get to all of that and more on the other side. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Factor. Eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including our popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up for your springtime goals. Get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes with Factor's ready-to-eat meals so you can get back to doing what you love this spring. No fuss, no mess meals. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. We're celebrating Earth Day all month long, so look out for the Earth Month Eats badge on the menu for our lowest carbon footprint meals as well. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 and use the code LockedOnNHL50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's code LockedOnNHL50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 to get 50% off your first box plus an additional 20% off the next box while your subscription is active. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are your hosts here for the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's a daily Maple Leafs centric podcast that we have coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. That's 5 shows a week. It's all Leafs all the time. If you have not yet subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast, we ask that you do if you want to stay informed on what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially in the final stretch run and into the playoffs. We'll have you informed on everything going on. And when we get to 5K subscribers, which we're getting there quick, I think we got like 50-something subscribers to go, we'll be giving away a Leafs jersey. Not just any Leafs jersey, an Auston Matthews Maple Leafs jersey. So all you got to do is be one of the 5,000 subscribers to us on YouTube, and you can win yourself one of those jerseys. So go ahead, subscribe, and be locked into what's going on here with the Locked On Leafs podcast. Speaking of what's going on, dude, what the hell went on tonight? That was a wild game. Definitely one where you kind of burn the tape after, I'm sure, for Sheldon Keefe. It's not one that you're going to be overly concerned about, I suppose, but also not one that you're going to be happy with. The effort is specifically probably in goal and also defensively. They hung him out to dry a couple of times as well. What were some of your big takeaways tonight?
Well, obviously, the offense was like everyone was finding a way to score. Like Tavares getting a couple, Matthews obviously getting a couple. It felt like one of those nights where they knew they had to score, like because Samsonov wasn't having his best, but at the same time, as you said, like guys who shouldn't be making the mistakes they made the mistakes. Giordano, Brody, like can we try to get a little responsibility in your own end here? Like those are two people you don't expect that to come from.
Yeah, I mean, to say early on, you could tell that Samsonov wasn't having his best. I don't know if that's even fair because you look at the first two goals, and it's just complete, like, just brain blunders by the defenseman. Like Brody just kicks it right onto, the stick of Holla there, who just kind of bangs it in quite easily. And then I don't know what the hell Gio was thinking. He literally passed it directly to who's that? Nolan Foote on that one. Pass it literally right onto the stick of Nolan Foote, right in front of the net, and he goes and he makes a nice little move and beats Samsonov. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on here? Like, whatever happened to the simple play, chip it off the glass, give it to your man up along the boards. He's trying to send it up the middle. And yeah, of course, if it's along the ice like that, it's going to get picked off by the opposition who's skating in towards you, trying to pressure you. I don't know what the hell that was all about, but certainly Samsonov, I think, he didn't have a good game. I think that's certain. You can say that, but I think two things can be true. They also, didn't put him in a good spot for a few of those goals as well.
Yeah, and Sheldon Keefe alluded to that after the game. He said we hung him out to dry. Didn't give him a chance really to get into the game either. My issue more with Samsonov was on the penalty kill, the Meyer goals. I feel like
right through him.
Like right through you. Those are killer there. The Bratt goal, again, Edmondson. But, like, if you're going to go for a check, go for a check. But Bratt's also very, he's an elusive forward, speedy forward. Guy. But that's one there where...
The timing of those goals, too, right? That's what I think. Like, you look at the 4-4 goal, especially with, 12 seconds left in the second period to tie things up. Yep. Like, that's such a momentum killer because Toronto had gained momentum. Like they were down 3-2. They scored two quick goals, right? And all of a sudden, now it's 4-4 because Timo Meyer scores going into the third instead of having a lead and feeling good about yourself. So, that was kind of a tough one to swallow, obviously. And, ultimately, though, like you score 5 goals at home, you should win the game. It's as simple as that. Like when you score 5 and you're on your own ice in any game, realistically, you put up 5 goals on the scoreboard, you should win, but especially on home ice. So not a good night defensively, some big mistakes, obviously. And a couple of goals that Samsonov would definitely want back that went right through him. So not a night that I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like I saw some people online and I don't know. Like, I don't know why people are already on his case, but they're thinking to themselves, is the old Samsonov back? Because he allowed 6 goals tonight. And granted, it's never good to allow 6 goals, but it was one game.
First time he's allowed 6 goals since he's been recalled.
Right. Like, let's relax here. I don't think
this is not a trend. This is like a blip in what he has done. Like, let's not forget everything he's done over the last 20 games or so.
We hope it's a blip, obviously. We do. I believe we also probably thought that in the first couple games of the season when he was giving up goals. Like, well, this wasn't Sammy of last year. And then it turned out to become a trend. So we do want to hope that it does not become a trend, obviously. And I think it's just because of what we witnessed earlier in the season with Samsonov, prior to the demotion and since him coming back, being recalled, like it was just so bad. And it's like, oh no, is this one game going to hurt his confidence and will we see him spiral again? Like, I'm not ready to go there, but I do somewhat understand where some people are coming from with that argument at the very least.
No, for sure. Like I'm not sounding alarms on Ilya Samsonov. At the same time, there's a past, so you can't overlook it. But let's try to keep things calm as a cucumber. I know it's hard to do here in Toronto, but let's try.
All right, let's get to the good, the bad, the ugly from tonight's 6-5 regulation loss to the New Jersey Devils. The Devils actually end up taking the season series 2-1 with the victory tonight. We'll start with the good. What was good about tonight's game, Dave?
I'm going to take a different approach to this one because I know usually we talk about the game itself, but I have to give a shout out to the Leafs and the tribute for Rodion Amirov. Like,
yes,
that hurt. Hurt because of the situation, but it was also like pulling on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
What also added to it, I mean, obviously you see the parents with the jerseys, dad pointing up, but then Sheldon Keefe's words after the game. I don't know if you caught what he had to say. Like that hit me even more. He said, "Quite the moment, but they should be coming here to watch their son play in the NHL."
Wow.
He went off for a longer tangent about it, but
yeah,
man, like
it's true, man. It's sad.
It's great that they were able to get this done. I'm sure it wasn't a easy thing to coordinate, but man, I could imagine what the players also just feel like seeing that and knowing Rodon was there for during his time, he was around the locker room, he was around these players, and so then to see that, I'm sure was probably a little bit of a tough moment for them too.
I think it was last year at the first game of the season when they were going he was there on the bench, and he had a moment where they Rodion Amirov in his suit and gave a little wave to the crowd, and unfortunately ended up being the last time that he was on that bench and in that building, unfortunately. That was it was a nice ceremony, and the Leafs always top-notch organization when it comes to that type of stuff. And that was in a good way, I guess. It was good to see him and the team just recognize the situation, and I'm sure his family appreciated it as well. So absolutely, we should talk about that and put that as part of the good. Way to go, Leafs organization. As for the game itself, a couple things that I liked. I thought they were good. I mean, obviously, Auston Matthews, he was so fairly dominant tonight. Thought he could have had 3 or 4 goals realistically. I thought Max Domi was real solid tonight. The few minutes that he was able to play, but the way that he's seeing the ice and making plays, getting the puck over to Matthews, that second goal, that was essentially he just passed that perfectly, where it just bounced off of Matthews' stick and into the net, just redirected perfectly into the net because he just put it just so perfectly onto the tape and onto the stick. Just another great little moment there. Max Domi's really coming on as a playmaker here with Auston Matthews. And then we didn't see it a lot, but when Nylander, Tavares, and Marner got put together for a little bit of a stretch there, they're pretty darn dominant. And I did hear Sheldon Keefe talking about that after the game and saying how it's something that he can always go to during a game if he feels like they need to shorten the bench a little bit and kind of just roll 2 or 3 lines. That allows them to kind of then put Nylander up on the second line and just kind of roll like that. And they played 3 minutes and 52 seconds together tonight. The shot attempts were 14-1 when they were out there on the ice, 8-0 in scoring chances. So I thought that, that trio showed some promise for when and, if Sheldon Keefe decides to put them together on a more regular basis. I think that would definitely bode well for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, you noticed their presence, their ability to cycle the puck, Marner's passing ability, Tavares knowing exactly where to be on those opportunities too, in the slot. Look at the goals he scored. He knew exactly where he needed to be. And again, Bobby McMahon's a guy that could slide to that their line and still be, useful, right?
Because you can actually check. Yeah.
Yeah, like that could be your checking line if you really need to kind of switch things up. But I do like that they have the option to move it around. I don't know if you want to do that too much, especially if you want to spread out the scoring more, which is I think what Sheldon Keefe's theory was of having these guys on different lines. But the fact that you can put them together and it's like snap of the finger, they can do what they did, bodes pretty well for them.
Yeah, I'm curious how things are going to end up shaking out come playoff time. I'm kind of leaning like I wonder if they would trust Connor Dewar enough to play like third line center. Like, what about like if Yarncroc comes back? I know this is pretty much going off topic, but it just popped in my head. So, but what about like a lineup? Right, you keep that top line intact. Right, Domi, Matthews, and Bertuzzi, Nylander, Tavares, and Marner. If Yarncroc comes back, right, you've got Yarncroc on one wing, Bob McMahon on another, Connor Dewar as your 3C, and then on the fourth line, look how well Matthew Nyes played on the fourth line the other night, right? Like, so you get Matthew Nyes, David Kampf, and Ryan Reeves. Like that might be something that could work, and it gives you some depth throughout the lineup, guys who can score on each and every line, and guys who are defensively responsible and can play. Play. It will be hard to play against on each and every line. Gives you some balance. What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. I know somebody once brought up to me when we were having a conversation on Twitter, which was like maybe Yarncroc, this is the time where you try him at 3C, and I'm like, if the Leafs thought Yarncroc could play 3C, they would have done this a long time ago when they didn't have a bona fide 3C. So
yeah,
I think I think if they don't do Dewar, I think they think Camp in that spot,
which is a possibility too. Either or, I think they might be able to try, but I don't know. We'll see. That's completely off the beaten path of what we were supposed to be talking about here. Let's get to the bad. What didn't you like, Dave? What didn't you like?
Penalty kill.
Yeah, not good tonight. Not good.
You're taking stump penalties like that. You can't let those go in the back end. That changed the game. That flipped the game for the Devils.
But they gave three power play goals, which is unfortunate because their PK has been so good lately. And then they gave one up the other night against the Devils, and then gave up 3 last night against them. So that's. Yeah, you don't want your PK to be going in the opposite direction heading into the playoffs. Hopefully over the next few games, they can get that rounded back into form, and this is just a little blip and not the start of a trend, right?
I know. It's the wrong time for your special teams, especially the power play. Like this continues to be a thorn, like an issue that I've had for years with this team.
It's been 3 years, and they got there's a new coach in there too, like. Spencer Carberry was the guy last year. Like, it's not even Carberry now. Like, gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Scar.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, am I ever blanking on his name right now?
I'm blanking on it too.
Oh boy. But anyway, Guy Boucher.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Guy Boucher's, at the helm now, and they're struggling too with him. So it's like, what's the problem now? Was it the coach? It wasn't the system. It's the players who just continue to fall off as the season progresses. I don't know what the situation is, but there's like 3 years in a row now where the power play has really fell off after a red hot start to the season, where the back half has just been just terrible. Like they're literally have like an 8% power play since like the start of March. It's putrid. It's terrible. That's got to change come playoff time. Obviously, we talked about. Well, I guess we could shift into the ugly because for me, the 2 ugliest plays that I saw, the TJ Brody giveaway, but the one that was the ugliest of all was Mark Giordano. Talked about already, but like what the hell that guy was doing, just coughing up a puck like that in front of the net. I do not know. I honestly have no words as for what the hell happened there, but. That was an ugly part in the game. Ooh, Joel Edmondson also made his return to the ice tonight on the ice for 4 goals against. I should add as well.
That Edmondson Brody pairing, that's a no-go for me.
Well, so what are you doing? Like, is Brody out of your lineup? Like, they're having that discussion on the broadcast tonight. Like,
The thing is, Liljegren, we don't even know if he's going to be healthy enough for the playoffs.
well, I think
He's
he
going to
practiced.
practice tomorrow,
Yeah.
or today, if we're depending when you listen to this. But like that to me has to maybe be you're hoping that he can slide in beside Edmondson, because I don't know if Edmondson's coming out. They really
No, it's
like
not.
it.
It's pretty much. I think the decision is going to be Brody or Liljegren. Like, if Lily's healthy, that's going to be the decision there, which is absolutely insane to think about. Like, imagine going into the season like back in September in training camp, and I was like, dude, TJ Brody might not even be able to make this lineup come playoff time. You just said, are you high? TJ Brody's their best defenseman. He's their most reliable defenseman.
Yeah.
Dude, the wheels have fallen off so badly this year, where Timothy Liljegren might be a better option. That guy was healthy scratched the last 2 years in the first couple games of the playoffs, and now he's possibly a better option than TJ Brody. It's not good, man. It's not good for the Maple Leafs when it comes to Broads there. I don't know. You could try flipping them, maybe like Brody back on his left, where he has played a lot better, and Edmondson, who in his career has played the right side. He also is more comfortable on the left, but I think when you are more of a defensively sound guy, you're probably better off going to the other side than Brody, who's more of a, I don't know, like he's more likely of the two to make the first pass out the zone. So you want to have him on his forehand. You know what I mean? So maybe instead of completely saying, nope, this is a terrible pairing, maybe flip those two, Brody on the left, Edmondson on the right, perhaps. If Liljegren can't go on Saturday, maybe I'd like to see that.
I'm surprised they didn't try it, but I guess maybe Keefe, he feels more comfortable knowing that Brody has played the right side. He hasn't really ventured or thought about Edmondson on the right, but something has to change there.
Well, this is what happened last year with McCabe too. McCabe came over and he's like, I want him on the left, and he was stubborn. And I remember coming on this podcast, I'm like, try him on the right. He's played the right before and he's had some success. Try him on the right, and it just never happened. And then finally, this year when John Klingberg went down, they were like, well, we kind of have to try him out on the right. Oh, look at that. It worked. So why not give it a try? You know, guys who are more defensive defensemen don't need to use their stick as often. I think that for offensive abilities, I should say, put them on the offhand. It may not be hurtful. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Anything else that was ugly for you?
No, I think those were pretty much the more ugly from that game. They were just the PK and the defensive zone coverage, or that pairing needs. I can't see that again.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll tee up tomorrow night's game. Leafs and Red Wings should be a goodie. It's the final home game of the season, the regular season, for the Maple Leafs. So will Matthews hit 70 on home ice? We'll debate that next.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you had handpick the stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills. We can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching assessments and virtual interviews. Hate waiting. Indeed US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it on search, according to US Indeed data. And with Indeed matching, as soon as you sponsor a job post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Boom. It's like hiring at warp speed. So join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you're only paying for quality applications that meet your must-have job requirements. So visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application price not available for everyone. Need to hire. You need Indeed.
Today's show is also brought to you by Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through this process and steps, step by step. Your work-life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs, or even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. But Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found it was the best fit for their needs. Check life insurance off your to-do list with in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. This is Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you. One more game at Scotiabank Arena in the regular season. 40 down, just one to go. It's against the Detroit Red Wings, who, they'll be playing tomorrow. They will be playing. They're playing for their playoff lives, basically, right now on the outside looking in after a loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday night. How about that? Kyle Dubas with his team with a late surge into the playoffs, potentially currently locking down that second wildcard spot. But that's going to be a big game for them, which means Toronto better come with their A game, because I think Detroit, right off the hop, they're going to be coming all out to try and make sure that they walk away with 2 points. I think the big question in this game is, do you go back to Samsonov, after a tough game and try and get a quick rebound game out of him to try and get that confidence back, or maybe not let him sit on a bad performance and let kind of the mentals creep in a little bit?
I think you give him this game, and then it might be one of the last ones you give him, because I think two things. One, I think Joe Swoll needs one more game.
Yep.
And I think Martin Jones should get a game too.
I don't disagree with you, actually. I think that's an astute point, Mr. Morassutti. Give him this final one, and then he doesn't even need to come with the team on the road if he doesn't want to. He probably would, the final road trip, I guess, just for the funds, the S and giggles. But yeah, I think that would make sense. Give him the Detroit game, and then whoever, Woll or Martin Jones, you can flip-flop whoever takes on the Panthers, whoever takes on the Lightning. But yeah, I think that makes total sense. I could definitely see that happening. As for Boppy, Auston Matthews, I think everyone wants to see him hit 70 on home ice, because the milestones that he's hit so far this year have all been on the road, right? 60 was hit on the road, and then he hit, what was the other milestone he hit? 65 was also on the road when he tied Ovi, or maybe even when he passed Ovi. But so the big milestones for him have been on the road this season. It would be poetic if he could somehow, some way, have another 2-goal night, get to 70, and then we don't even got to worry about the race and the chase for the last 2 games down in Florida.
That would be my thinking too, right? Like, I think, if you're Auston Matthews, like, you want to get this done. You like, he's trying. Like, it's not with a lack of trying. The guy scored how many goals in the last stretch here? Like, he's clearly a man on a mission right now. And look, the Red Wings, as much as they're in a playoff race right now, haven't exactly been playing great. Like, Alex Lyon had a very un-Alex Lyon game. Allowed, I think it was 6 goals on like 25 shots or something. Like the Penguins were enjoying the shooting gallery in that one. And I don't know, like, I feel like the Leafs also have been playing the Red Wings pretty well lately, and I think this is like setting itself up. The stage is setting itself pretty perfectly for Matthews.
It could. I'm just gonna look up the where things are at between these two teams. Like, remember that one game? It was pretty late in the season, like around now, I think, when it was. I don't know, was it like a 10-7 hockey game
Oh
between
yeah,
these
the
teams?
one
Like,
the
you remember that?
crazy game in Detroit.
Yeah, yeah. I like it would. I don't know. I guess you wouldn't want that because you definitely don't want to see the goalies give up that many goals. But like, if Toronto could somehow, get themselves, a nice big 10 spot, make it a point night kind of game, that would go a long way for a lot of the records that teams are chasing down or that players are chasing down. Like, we still want to see Willie get to 100 points too, right? So I think
Yeah.
he's going to want to have a big game. Yeah, no, it's February 26th, 2022. It was a 10-7
Mitch
game.
Marner
Wow.
had 4 goals in that game and two assists, I think, is what
Yeah,
I
I
remember.
think, what did Austin have in that game? Austin
Yeah,
had,
goal and 3 assists.
yeah, so he had 4 points. Here's the one thing about Austin, though, actually, when it comes to Detroit Red Wings, he hasn't scored against Detroit in 4 straight meetings. So the Red Wings have done a pretty good job of limiting Austin on the goal sheet, and I don't love that. But you could argue maybe that means he's due, Dave. Maybe that
He's
means
due.
he's due. Let's
I
hope.
think so.
Let's hope he's due. Anything else about this game you wanna bring up?
I mean, if you want to highlight a player on the Red Wings to look out for, Lucas Raymond.
Dude, he's on fuego.
He was a beast. I think like one of his best games. And it's like such an important game. Like the Red Wings don't even go to overtime in that game against the Penguins if it wasn't for Lucas Raymond scoring a hat trick.
And he's been scoring goals left, right, and center for them. Like, he's been putting up a lot of points over the last little bit for them. He's been key. I think since the All-Star break, he's got not the All-Star break, the trade deadline. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 goals. 12 goals in like, I guess, a month, basically. He's starting to come on as a player, man. He's going to be a good goal scorer for many, many years.
Patty game too. He's putting up points as well. He got not necessarily great defensively, but he is putting up points this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would prefer. Well, it's not even unfortunate. I would prefer to see Pittsburgh and Sidney Crosby make it. So I hope the Leafs make this a 2-point game and take it in regulation. And maybe that's the end of Detroit, because I would really, really like to see Crosby in another playoff series as opposed
he deserves
to
it. He's carrying that team right now.
Dude, they've got points in like
1,000
12
career
straight.
assists for Sidney Crosby, by the way.
Yes, he did do that. He had that. Was that tonight he did that?
Yeah, he did on the OT winner. He got his 1,000 assists.
Amazing, dude. For half a second, Dave, I looked at my roommate and I said, imagine Matthews ties the game with the net empty at 6, goes to overtime, and then wins the game in 3-on-3, and that's how he gets his 70 goals. A 4-goal performance, including an OT winner, to get to 70. Like, could you imagine how this show, like the love fest we would have had with Auston Matthews?
Yeah, we would have had just a straight out 3-segment Auston Matthews,
dude.
Auston Matthews.
Yeah, dude. Like, there was this. I put that out in the universe. Didn't happen, obviously, but I put it out in the universe. I was like, imagine, like that would be just a poetic. Like, Austin in 4 goals is such a, like, there's meaning behind it, obviously, with his debut. And imagine he did the same thing the night he hit 70. Like, it would have just been perfect. Like, just
he still could get 4 in the game. He gets 70.
Oh, I suppose, but it's not the same as
I know.
the 4th being the 70th goal,
Yeah.
Would have been awesome. And the game winner at that. But oh well. But it does appear like the Maple Leafs, like, regardless of what happens, because the Lightning also lost in a shootout, looks like they're going to be locked into that 3rd spot in the East, or in the Atlantic, and most likely going to be traveling down to Florida It looks like we're going to have a rematch of last year's second round where we've got Leafs, Panthers for round 1 of the playoffs. We'll come back over the weekend and we should have even more of an idea, some more clarity on how the playoffs would shake out with, well, at that point, there would just be a couple of games left for everybody. So the final weekend of the regular season in the NHL is upon us. Still lots to be determined, not only with teams and playoff races, but also when it comes to milestone chases and individual awards. So much up for grabs in this final week of the NHL regular season. It's a lot of fun. Going to be a good weekend of hockey. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content, including up on YouTube. You can follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.